know. Where do they spend this money? We just really don't know. Let's send another billion to another person in another country. We don't know. Where do they spend this money? We just really don't know. Let's send another billion to another. We don't know. Where do they spend?
All right, so we have U.S. Army Rangers doing it. Exactly what we have. We've been calling this out for years now, but this is a very specific thing that these U.S. Rangers are doing, training for a different kind of fight, neutralizing enemy underground nuclear facilities. So we knew about all of the underground training that's been going on for now half a decade, and it's a very specific kind. Obviously, they drill for the things that they are going to run into based on intelligence, based on what they know, based on the facts of what your enemy is, and of course, based on the enemy itself. Now, as far as underground nuclear facilities, you can probably narrow it down to a few countries. But again, over the summers, soldiers from the Army's little-known nuclear disablement team linked up with the elite 75th Ranger Regiment at a training event that offered insight in how the U.S. military is thinking about taking out enemy underground nuclear facilities in the event of a conflict. Now, again, the drill came as U.S. grapples with, of course, China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia, three of which already possess nuclear weapons, and one that is, as far as the U.S. is concerned, a little too close for comfort, of course, being Iran. And then, of course, they did, in these specific trainings, they said, for decades, taking down adversary nuclear facilities has been a concern for the U.S. military. No one wants to think about a near-peer conflict because of the specter of a nuclear war. With such a conflict could bring horrible, horrible events. But militaries regularly prepare a wide range of scenarios that might never happen. Of course, the contingency plan, right? Well, is this something that may never happen, or is it actually practice for something that is going to be an operation? Again, Ranger training to prosecute nuclear targets seems to signal a shift in their role. For decades, the mission to find and eliminate enemy nuclear facilities belonged to the Secretive Joint Special Operations Command, or JSOC, and its Tier 1 Special Missions units. The Arma's Delta Force was primarily tasked with finding ways to penetrate highly guarded nuclear facilities and neutralize nuclear warheads. So I'm just curious why, if this has generally been delegated to a certain group, why are they now adding this to, say, another unit? Is there going to be multiple missions at once that they need to be doing this with? Will they need help? Is this going to be way bigger than what even those units can handle? Are they going to need extra guys doing the same kind of mission? Say, in a country big enough where they would have to do all of them at the same time or something? I just wonder, or if they're just making a kind of administrative change on who's going to be doing missions like this, or having a backup. So in case those units get taken out, you have a backup unit to do these kinds of things. The unit Delta Force has been involved with the mission set. It is an extremely difficult task. It incorporates a wide range of skill sets like QCB, close quarter combat, battle, breaching, and CBRN, chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear warfare. A retired Delta Force operator told Business Insider. The fact that Rangers and SF, Army Special Forces, are getting involved in the mission set tells me that the military is getting ready for a fight where there might be several different nuclear sites that need to be secured. Exactly what it looks like, right? So again, very, very creepy stuff. We're going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about China. It appears that they are getting ready to invade. So we're going to talk about all of that tonight on Marfoogle TV. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
No, it's in another billion to another person in another country. We don't know. Where do they spend this money? We just really don't know. It's in another billion to another person in another country.
All right. What is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Before we get into anything else, I first off want to thank everybody that made it into the show. Space Monkey, Arlene, Herber, Aura. We've got Randy Man, Pure Warfare. Hello, fam. Hey, Nanny Anderson, what is going on? By the way, let's do a quick vote before the show starts. Let's get something out of the way. I'm really, really curious on how the last 2 days went, who ended up winning. What do you guys think has changed? But first of all, do you believe now, what are the chances of war? One, do you believe even though T-Man won that we will still go to war? Press number 1. 2, if you believe that we might go to war now that T-Man has won, or some or half of the war. Or 3, do you believe we will not see a major war now that T-Man has been put in the seat of president? What do you guys think? Do you think that he is going to be able to stop what has been building? Very curious at the answers. Some of the folks say maybe. Jammer says maybe and probably will stop it. B lead, look at that, Kimberly, a lot of maybes, but also a lot of folks that believe that it's still going to be war. I don't see how you could get out of this kind of war and say if the other side won, who would have favored that, right? I believe China would have favored that. But again, what if I find out tomorrow that everything I believe is completely wrong? Would I be surprised by that? Absolutely not. You know, when people say, I'm open-minded. Even if somebody said something about somebody I absolutely love or think is the funniest, greatest person in the world, I'm open to, change my mind on stuff like that because I have been lied to so much in my life, especially by the MSM. Of course, we know. I mean, we found out things throughout our life that just made us go like, wow, how did they do this to us? Like how they represented things that we have seen with our own eyes. It's like you don't know when, it's harder to, it's easy to fool somebody. It's harder to convince them they've been fooled. And I would actually think, like, what if everybody is tied in, right? What if both characters, what if this was the entire plan the whole time? I'm not against asking that question. Some people think that's blasphemy. And for anybody to even, I've had people call it blasphemy, and I'm thinking, well, then what are you actually calling that person? Are you calling them God? Which, again, is not okay either. So, but like questioning all of the background of all of these people, I'm very happy how things went because I believe that financially things will get better. I think a lot of people would settle for a crappy boss or a crappy employee if the employee did their job perfect. If they did stuff outside of work you didn't approve of, a lot of people, they go, okay, well, that's what you do. I think a lot of people approve over that more so than somebody who looks nice, professional, has a suit, perfectly cut every day, but does the worst job ever. That again, I think that debate has been going on for quite a few years now. A lot of people have problems with personal things and that. At this point, I think that people have gotten to the point where they're like, well, okay, I'm barely able to pay rent. I can't pay health insurance or car insurance. When it gets to the point where, you're one paycheck away, which most people are from homeless, that's where people go, okay, I don't care what you do outside. Just get us back to where we need to be. So I think that that's where a lot of people are at, especially with this inflation, gas prices, everything else that's being thrown our way, which many of us, if you just keep watching, it's like how? It's like Murphy's Law. Things just keep happening to screw up inflation, or at least they were happening. I guess we'll see what happens next. But these Delta forces, Dex, I'm going to bring my co-host / internet brother, Dex James, again. What do you think about these exercises? And as far as these goes, what do you think about how they're talking about training other units? I mean, it sounds like they're going to take down Russia. That's what it kind of gives you the impression.
Yeah, hello, Adam, hello, Fugle fam, and yes, for those that want to hear it, I'm doing just fine. But yeah, Adam, absolutely, it does sound like there's something specific here going on, probably in a much greater scale than they've ever planned to do before. And the first thing that came to my mind was Iran and what's happening there. But we also, and that when I think about expansion, because obviously Russia is number one. We've always been training to deal with them. We probably have, at least we think we have all the maps of everything they've ever built over there. We probably have more information about Russia than anyone else. The big gotcha, I think, is North Korea, because we know they have nukes and they flaunt them. They talk about them much more so than Iran, where Iran, you just wonder if they have them. We know Iran has a huge underground development, I would assume. And we would assume, just like everyone else, that North Korea does too. So when you think about that bigger picture of having to spread ourselves thin almost, when you deal with the thought of attacking underground nuclear bases, and that's what that message was about. Like, we needed more people to be trained to do it because we need to touch more locations. That's what I'm thinking, is where are we going besides Russia?
Yeah, it also says, what if they're going to coordinate and simultaneously try to take out multiple countries at once? Say they try to take out North Korea and Iran at the same time. That's where you would need multiple units that are completely separate, that are doing the same exact objective. That's what it looks like, and many people will just slide right over that like it's nothing. Most people are going to be focusing on everything else. We cover the back page news, and that shouldn't be back page news, and most people should be talking about that. But I guarantee you, if you actually talk to some of your coworkers or people at the office, that's the last thing on their mind. They're probably more, infatuated with what's going on with Diddy, and nothing against that. That is just as crazy and in its own way important. But the fact that people are missing some of these things that are, it's like a train, and we just miss several stops. I mean, think about that. If, you're running for a bus and you just miss it, and it keeps missing you by a couple feet, and it takes off while you're looking at the guy in the mirror. That's what I think that many people are doing unconsciously. Like they're not seeing a lot of these stories, and they're missing the ride. And we're all on the bus going, why aren't these guys in the know? Well, all of the information is being given out on the bus. So if that analogy works at all, but again, I try. And then the Chinese Navy appears to be gearing up to invade someone. Oh, I wonder who that is. Dex, do you want to go over why they believe this and what satellite images and things are showing now?
So a 650-foot vessel that's small for an assault ship, the type 075 to 760, is a 760-foot long. Type 076 is even longer, at 850 feet, more to the point where the mystery ship, so this mystery ship they're seeing, is redundant. What the Chinese would do with a third type of big deck amphibious ship? Well, of course, the answer we know to that is probably getting prepared for this taking over of Taiwan. So this strange ship here is some sort of amphibious, probably short launch type capabilities off the deck, whether it be helicopter or vertical takeoff planes, etc., from that deck, as well as other amphibious type vehicles that may launch from the ship itself. So that's what they're finding in the satellite imagery, and that's causing at least some to question this. Is that the Chinese Navy's hard at work on this new huge amphibious assault ship. So a combination of troop transport and aircraft carrier that could carry hundreds of troops towards Taiwan and then launch helicopters and deposit those troops behind the Taiwanese defense. So when you think about, we've talked about the ships that they've not only commandeered by taking, say, the ferry boats and requiring them to be military capable so they can roll tanks and other types of equipment onto those ferry ships. So when you take that mass of equipment, it's also, what are they special building? Well, this is what they're special building. Let's move troops in with equipment in addition to what they'll probably line up a whole bunch of their ferries and other civilian ships that they have converted or required they be upgraded to be military capable.
And again, if you're wondering, if you don't know about what Dex is talking about, China actually put it into their, I don't know if they call it a constitution, but they made it a regulation where every civilian ferry would be made to a certain specification, that every commercial ship would also be made to certain specifications to where they could serve the military as well. So cruise ships on top of that. Ferries, for instance, instead of having a normal what do you call it? The ramp that comes down and drops for cars to go over, that had to be, I think it was 3 times as long. It was like 160 feet long instead of like 40 feet or 50 feet. And then that also had to be able to support the weight of tanks. So from day-to-day use, Monday through Friday, this thing's being used to, scurry people across the water. In the case of a war, they would then take that civilian ferry and then load tanks onto it because it is now capable. This has been going on for years, along with all of the other hoarding, with all of the other money moves, with the buying of farmland, with the investment into space technology, into radar jamming technology, and their new tech that they say that could knock out all of our preemptive radar. That's a scary thing. That's a very, very scary thing. Because remember, everybody thinks, oh, well, they don't have enough. They don't have enough to do this. First of all, they have the largest Navy in the world now. What I also think that this thing might be for is for drone landing. So we just talked about the mothership thing, this huge drone that can hold 10 tons. It looks kind of like a Predator, but it has a big cargo, and it can actually carry a swarm of drones. It releases those drones. I wonder if those drones cannot land or go back into it. Are they disposable? Are they, drones like what they have in Ukraine, where they're one-time use and boom? Or will these other drones land on something like this? If you have a bunch of these that are just basically out there as a landing and recovery pad to revamp or recharge or whatever, I don't know. I wonder though. But they're saying because of the redundancy and because of how you would strategically use this, it looks like this. But I also think that we're also thinking in World War II kind of era war, where now we're in World War III era war, where it's going to be drones versus drones, radar killers versus radar killers, jammers versus jammers, space tech versus space tech, and possibly even microwave weapons. Obviously, lasers versus lasers. So I think that, it's hard for a lot of people that are not obviously experts on this stuff to even be able to weigh in at this point, because we don't truly know what the battlefield will look like in the next war. And then new squadron of U.S. F-15 fighter jets on its way to region ahead of expected Iran attack. So as all of this is going down, Pick the Prez is all done. We've got our winner. Now everything is still picking up. It is still escalating. New squadron of U.S. And by the way, we will have an update for you, by the way, on the soccer game in Amsterdam. It appears, and this is just off of the first glimpses of it, it appears that this event is not random. That's just my opinion. And that this looks like it may be the non-conventional attack that Iran was going to do to Israel. They opened up the embassy even to try to get people off of the streets and into the embassy because of what was going on there. There's people being attacked at this game. So we'll talk about that here in a second. But again, new squadron of U.S. F-15s sent to the region as this Iran attack was expected. Aircraft would join B-52 bombers, THAAD air defenses, which we just gave them, system deployed in the past month to counter threatened assault Baghdad pushes back on reports strike will come from Iraq. Now, remember, this is wrote, and the stuff we were just talking about is breaking news. So you wonder, like, is that the actual strike and not some physical strike that, puts the 200 missiles to shame, which is what they are saying and which is what people expect. The United States appears to be reinforcing its presence in the Middle East ahead of an expected Iranian attack on Israel, with flight tracking sites showing American F-15E aircraft en route to Jordan on Thursday. One thing I wonder is every single time right before an attack, the U.S. has gone over there. So obviously, if we are to just believe that, if you assume that they know, you would think that Iran would see that. So every time right before a massive attack, the U.S. has shipped people over there. Even if they had to leave the South China Sea empty, they have brought people there and been there for the attack and actually been part of the defense. So they actually took out missiles, I think both times. Dex, didn't they say both times they took out missiles? The second time, I think less than the first time, or maybe the
second
reverse.
time, I think, was the manufacturing capabilities of the missiles.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I was the two times. I know the one time, I think they only took a total of 12 down, but they were there for it. I guess my point is, it's like do they have intelligence, or from them moving there, is that why, what triggers what? The U.S. has some of the best intelligence in the world. They're listening to practically every cell phone across the planet. And even if they're trying to do it on radios and walkie-talkies, well, heck, now they're probably afraid to use those because, they could just, blow up on you. Literally. So, and then the aircraft would join the B-52 Stratofortress bombers, huge, massive bombing aircraft, tanker aircraft, and Navy destroyers that U.S. Defense Lloyd Austin ordered to deploy to the Middle East earlier this week, as well as advanced THAAD, or Terminal High Altitude Area Defense Systems, that the U.S. rushed to Israel last month. So they, and then if you want to read the rest of this article, it talks about essentially the rest of the details and how they really are setting up a lot, multi-layered system to try to protect. So do they see a massive, massive strike? Dex, I think it was you that was saying the other night that some even expect that they could use all of their launchers, and they're possibly capable of launching 1,000 at a time, 1,000 or more, all at the same time. And it becomes a question of how good are these systems, and at what point can all of their systems, even at full bore, even protect against if they have all of these launchers? Do they have as much defense as they have offense?
Well, and I think you got to consider, like, what does that mean? Do they literally take out and bring a bunch of mobile launchers and get them into position? Because that's going to be obvious on satellite. And then would they be able to do it fast enough to get 1,000 launched, or a significant number launched all at once, fast enough to prevent them from being seen in advance, so that a preemptive, because you could imagine if you saw a mass mobilization like that, if I was Israel, I'd probably just take a preemptive strike on it, especially if it's out in the wild open like that. So, but you never know. I think that the dome could be overwhelmed. And I think that's part of what their strategy is. What can they do? And you would think they would leverage the fact that they've got, Syria and Lebanon and the Houthis and, all these different locations that they could coordinate from at one single point, including their own country, to overwhelm one small location in the Middle East of Israel.
So, and the last time it was 200 missiles, and some of those got through. So it begs the question, what happened with that? And how good are these systems if they launch 1,000 and they might launch drones along with them? Could they actually wipe out huge chunks of Israel? It is a question that needs to be asked. By the way, Lisa Douglas, thank you. Salute, thank you. Says, I loved this show and Adam and Dex and the family. It's been a while since I supported this channel. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for supporting independent, but also thank you for stopping by. Now it's been years. So thank you. I appreciate your support. And appreciate everybody that has been here for years. And I mean years. So thank you guys. And anybody that has watched for that long knows we've tried to be as conservative with, like, we try to make sure that anything we're doing is not having a net negative effect on people. I hope that we've had a net positive on people, and I hope one thing that gives me the confidence of that is some of the emails and some of the messages. What was really, really special was the 4 or 5 months after CV happened, and all of the people, because we were telling people that that specific kind of event looked like it was going to happen, all of the people that wrote thank you letters, I still think about those almost every day. The people that wrote, that they had supplies. They not only had teepee, but they had food. They had everything. They didn't have to worry. Some of the places, there were a couple states that people said that it was so bad in certain parts that you had to wait in a line to go into the grocery store, sometimes for 3.5 hours just to get into the doors during the worst part of CV. And they didn't have to do that because they had food. They had all of these supplies. Some of those letters, especially the ones, there was ones about how they had generators through storms. They had all of these things that were really hard to get during CV. I thought it was really cool. So again, thank you for all of those that have stuck through us, through everything. And thank you for those of you that actually do heed our words. And I understand it's hard to be like, it's a YouTube channel. But it's not just a YouTube channel, it's a community. It's a place where all of like-minded people come and we congregate and talk about what is being said by the MSM, and we try to find the patterns. Scott Dixon says, red wave. And then says, let's you. Thanks for all you do. Hard work, you and Dex. Much love. Scott Dixon. Thank you very much. And then let's see here. And we're going to talk about police hunt 40 monkeys that escaped a South Carolina research facility. And by the way, any story like this, people are going to be, and it does. Every time you see this, I guarantee you most of our brains go to one place. Our mindset is like, what's going to release now? But most of the time, it's almost like that these stories happen all the time just to keep us on our toes, to keep us scared. So I hope that that's not the case. But man, look at the timing. Remember the timing. These are monkeys from a research facility. But who knows? Again, we'll touch on that here in 2 seconds. I do want to remind you, as part of the things that we do recommend, and I do believe that this will end up saving a life in the event of either an EMP strike or a Carrington-level event from the sun, we recommend this 1,000%. This is a device that can actually protect you against both, not only a solar event from the sun, but also an adversary attacking us with an EMP, or an adversary here that is attacking with a non-nuclear EMP, a backpack device that could be made off of the internet. That is what DHS and other agencies are warning about, and who knows who the Bob and Steve are that are going to be delivering those non-nuclear things. But again, you would rather be protected no matter who's doing it. We can all debate on who might have done it or who might do it or whatever, but I'd rather talk about, if it happens, how do you protect yourself? Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. This same company is outfitting agencies like DHS, DOD, and now the Dempsey team helping protect the Texas grid. Again, this company, not only before they had all of these crazy contracts with all of the big governmental agencies, they first started off as a tiny company that basically broke off. The people that founded this were all people in not only our community, but preppers, but also people that really asked a whole lot of questions. And they broke off, they made this, and they've been very successful. They still make them by hand. They just have a lot more places they do it, though. Again, made in America down to the screws. Again, marfooglenews.com/EMP. You can get the same protection by the same company that's helping out all of these crazy things. They're doing it quietly, so I will loudly tell you we should be too. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. You can put on your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, generators, solar generators like the Flex Tactical and Flex Energy 1500. So go check them out. Again, marfooglenews.com/EMP. That helps you out. It gets you a $50 off per device discount, and it helps your favorite channel out, and you actually get something out of it. You're not just giving money to somebody. You're actually getting something at a discount and supporting independent media. Excuse-y. All right. The 40 monkeys. Dex, what the heck is going on? This sounds like some monkey business.
Yeah, it's definitely some monkey business, but not the kind you want. So the police are searching. This is in Yamasi. It's Beaufort County, okay? It's in South Carolina, and it is the Alpha Genesis location there, and that is a facility. It's a business that provides non-human primate products and bio research services, according to its website. So they have like set up traps now. Officers are using thermal imaging cameras in an attempt to recapture the animals. Residents are strongly advised to keep doors and windows secured to prevent the animals from entering their homes. Anyone who finds a monkey should not interact with it, but instead should call emergency services. The company that works with the monkeys carries out clinical trials, including on brain disease disorder treatments, and says it's one of the largest and most comprehensive facilities designed specifically for monkeys in the U.S. So the sheriff's department didn't specify the breed of anything, but did say that it's also not known what trials that the actual escaped monkeys were on, but people are being warned about this.
And that's even more disturbing. Why? I think there should be full transparency when somebody screwed up as much as letting out 40 research monkeys. And by the point that they say one of the largest and most comprehensive non-human primate facilities, meaning that if you're going to do something really important with monkeys, testing of any kind, and they test monkeys because they're very similar to humans, where would you go? Probably the best and the biggest, right? And what does our country... what can you prove at this point with now whistleblowers and things like that they have done that they probably shouldn't do, right? So hopefully, if it was something totally okay, then they would go, oh, well, these were just 40 monkeys from, a heart arrhythmia study or something, and we were just testing out a long-term aspirin on them or something. They would say it, but they're not saying it. But they don't even know what kind of freaking monkeys they are. So they're saying it works with macaque and capuchins. Is it macaque? I don't know. Did I just...
Yeah, cack.
It is cack?
That's how I've always said it. Although it's not like I say that word that often.
Well, I guess I just made a boo-boo. Somebody's going to clip.
But they did say this place...
that.
They did say in here, this place has actually had a history of this. Apparently, they get out a lot. I guess keeping monkeys confined isn't necessarily an easy task. You'd think it would be. You'd think in a lab environment it would be relatively simple, but maybe they try to take them outside and let them enjoy nature. I don't know. Seems odd.
I don't know either. I mean, it is odd. Somebody said, at least they're not working on a gov disease or something. Cactua. I read that word but never said it. Yep. I'm here. I say it so you don't have to. And then I see. I don't know if you're saying intentional accident about the monkeys or me saying macaque. But either way, moving on. Putin plays tough in opening move with Trump, and of course, Vladimir Putin did not come running. He let his spokesman react on Wednesday to the outcome of the U.S. presidential race, proclaiming that the Kremlin has no plans to congratulate Donald on his victory. If the U.S. wants peace deal, T-Man promised during his campaign, the Russians signaled that he would need to earn it. And I do believe that. That's the way they do business. But that's the thing. He has had, at least publicly, good luck with countries like this because he's no frills, straight to the point. But also that could be used to take advantage of him as well. I think a lot of people believe that happened with his first term. All the people around him, he probably trusted them, probably believed all of these politicians that were shaking his hand and saying, no, I've got your back 1,000%. Oh, I'm here until the very end. I'm only with you. Until 10 minutes later when somebody says, hey, we'll give you a $2 million insider trading tip if you just, say the guy's a total jerk. 2 minutes later, Donald's a total jerk. The message is, if you want a deal, you're going to crawl on your knees for it, says Nina Khrushcheva, on authority on Russian politics and foreign affairs at the New School. Putin feels he is starting out with T-Man from a position of strength. So he's saying, ha, we're big now, buddy. And what's sad is, what if that is true? Many believe that they have been empowered by the fact that, we have all these sanctions against them, but not only have they done all right, they've actually done better in some ways. They were able to, since the U.S. and other Western countries stopped going through them for a lot of things cut out of their country, pulled products, pulled companies, other countries that are not our allies stepped in and even did, in some cases, 2, 3, 4, 5 times the amount of buying to make up for it. India is a great example of that. In 1 month from the year before the invasion, they bought, 1x oil. The next year in that same exact month, you looked and they had bought 6 times, 6x what they did the year before. And things like that really do make up for, 5 or 6 other countries that may be buying even less than their 1x. So, and how did we get into this position? How did we give Russia power? That's a matter of opinion. Everybody's got a different one. But I don't believe that they are doing too bad right now. By the way, back to that Ranger story, Dex, you know what I thought of? You were talking and I forgot to say, they are in Russia right now. Like, you've got troops in Russia, not the U.S., but you've got Ukrainian troops. What if they had these Ranger groups go in there too, or special forces? What if they ended up 6 months, a year down the road, they have enough, they're close enough to where they can get to these spots straight up from the front lines or sneak in from the front lines and go do that to them. I
got to believe that this is sort of like a drop from, 50,000 foot in dark, one of those special ops kind of drops that they're going to have to do to go into a nuclear facility in Russia. Or it's a traverse the land by foot and not be seen, I can't imagine it's just walk up from the front lines.
Well, but from the front lines, they could travel. I mean, how many soldiers have gone from the front lines, gone to the side of the front lines, and snuck in and gotten behind enemy lines? That's the thing.
I guess it really depends on where
country.
the silos are. I mean, it depends on where the silos are. That's the key part. Most of them are probably in the north, pointed towards the Arctic, because that's the shortest path. But I don't know.
Well, I guess because they're
the above ground ones are not what they're training for. It's the underground ones, right?
It's not like they have to go through a border. If they can get to the front lines, they're already inside the country. There's no borders. There's obviously the other side of the front line, but who knows what that even looks like? I wonder what the hell is really going on there. It's crazy how much just dumb stuff we see. The stuff we do see out of Ukraine. I see so many. Just the other day, I saw a video, and who knows how they verify any of this stuff, and I don't even think they claim this one was verified, but I don't know if you've seen this before, but there was about 6-7 guys taking a picture, Ukrainian soldiers supposedly, and again, this is supposedly, taking pictures with a Russian tank. Ukrainian Air Force or somebody in the air, I don't know who, or a drone, I don't know what dropped it, thought that those were Russians because of the Russian tanks, and then blew the tank up and took out their own guys. Friendly fire, essentially. And it just makes them look so dumb. And you would think that the Ukrainian government or the U.S. government, since we've sent so much of our own money over there, with all the censorship that happens, how does that get out? They censor, yours or my opinion, but videos like that can go viral. I just don't get it. Dex, go ahead.
Well, we talk about this training with the Rangers, right, or the Special Forces from the U.S. going after Russia. But flip it around. What if Russia was doing the same training for us? How would they come in? Well, they could walk across the southern side like everyone else, but all they really got to do is get to North Dakota, and they could probably easily cross the border from Canada into North Dakota, and nobody's going to think twice.
You know what?
When I say that, I don't mean like, an infantry of men all dressed in military fatigues, but, just traveling across in a car.
Yeah, but that's harder to do now in Russia. Like Poland and all of these areas have their borders
I get it.
closed off.
But I'm saying, what about us? Like, how vulnerable are we to the same tactic we're looking at doing to someone else? They could be perched in, the Motel 6 in North Dakota for the last year and a half.
That's very specific. The one on 4th Street. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, dude, I don't know if they have Motel 6 in North Dakota, but maybe they do.
Well, yeah, it's right next to the 2 Ferndale trees. There's no such thing as a Ferndale tree, but anyways, because they know that kind of thing can happen, and that would happen. But how the U.S. how they look at it is it would be a smaller thing. They look at collateral damage. They look at, it could hurt this much. But the reason why we all feel so secure is we've got these 2 bodies of water on both sides of our country. Back in the day, this is what really kept us safe. We had an ally up here, and then we had Mexico here. We had very limited land that you could we had all of this not so secure for people getting through, but you could shore this up and you could defend against this. The coastlines. Of course, you had to travel all of this to get over here from any of those countries. And back in the day in World War II, where the transportation technology was not up to par where it is today, to travel these seas with the full military, you had a lot of space in between where the Air Force could go and just go tap, 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 and destroy it. And there was all of these different key factors of why we were so much safer back then before all sorts of technology happened. And also before, say, China. Why do you think they built the largest navy ever? Why do you think they turned civilian ferries and cruise ships into wartime ships? They're looking at the logistical problems of why they can't invade the U.S. And they're slowly fixing those. I wouldn't even say slowly at this point. But they also look at, okay, well, can we face them one-on-one? Everything says that they can't. What would they need to do? Well, all the simulations of all of these countries say that they need to have at least 2 peer-to-peer wars going on with the U.S. for the U.S. to lose. That's including U.S. with allied support and all of that. They need to be fighting basically Russia and China. Then you throw in Iran. Then you throw in North Korea. Then you throw in Venezuela. Then you throw in people from inside the country. One thing that I find strange is everyone has talked about the number of Chinese citizens coming over, Venezuelans coming over, Iranians coming over. Dex, have we covered a single article about how many Russians are coming in? Is that kind of odd? I don't remember one over 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I don't recall one.
Isn't that kind of odd? I mean, we could search it on our own website where we archived all of the headlines we've covered, and we cover all of the ones regarding that. It's not on purpose that we're not doing it. There really isn't any fuss about Russians coming into our country. Isn't that kind of weird? I mean, take it with what you want. Meanwhile, I mean, yeah, if you were going to take us, you would probably have to have a considerable force already here. Hence, all of the farmland around the country that's now been purchased up by parties that are most likely or most definitely connected to the CCNP, it could come from within. That coordinated with jamming, that coordinated with a huge file on each American, on who owns weapons, on where they live, how many they own. These kind of things would be the things you would look up before you take them out. Oh, and you would really want to get, embedded into their infrastructure, into the cyber infrastructure, into the grid. Oh, wait, we have covered that, and they have all of it. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, well, so I looked it up, not had we covered it, but what the stats were. According to Customs Border Patrol, 2021, there was 4,103 encounters with Russian citizens on our southwest border. And then it increased. In 2022, it was up to 21,000. And then in 2023, it was over 33,000 Russians. And that's just what they encounter. That doesn't count the ones that they don't encounter.
What? Now combine that with the number of Chinese. Now combine that with the Iranians. Now combine that with the Venezuelans. Now combine that with the Cubans. Now combine that with South Africans, which may end up very well being their military guys or young youth with weapons. And then what happened to the Venezuelan gangs thing? They had coverage of that, and then it just disappeared. They took over whole city blocks. Or is that still happening, and the media just kind of gave it a pass? Because at the time that happened, they said it had been going on for a year. So what is actually happening? I will tell you this. This is why I wanted you guys to send me footage of all of your cities. Show me your dilapidated cities. Go to marfooglenews.com/playmyvideo. You don't have to do it firsthand. First, go out and take a video. Take a video of say you're in Chicago, downtown. You see just lines of people lined up where 2 years ago it was a clean, nice area. And I'm not saying, we're not saying this to be like, oh, look at all the homeless. It's more so the dilapidation of all of our cities. That's what I want to point out. I think that every city, including cities that aren't in these, that there are some, and most of them are not, sanctuaries, but there are some cities that are really nice and clean. Send me that too. I would love to show both sides of it. I just pointed out here in Seattle, there's a place called Lake City. I hadn't been up there since before CV. It was 2018, 2019, the last time I went up there. Everything was, it's always been you don't want to, at 11 o'clock at night, you don't want your daughter walking down the street. But in general, because they have a famous area that's not too far from that, Aurora, and that whole area has got strip clubs and places like that. So it's already kind of shady. In just the last 3 years, it has been destroyed. From 125th up to past 145th, this huge, super long, each block is, it feels like a quarter mile if you're walking, but just this huge, giant place. All graffiti, all the businesses, Bartels, Walgreens, the banks. The banks are closed, gated up, boarded up. The real estate company, the big real estate company, always had a center there. It has barbed wire. It's for lease. It's no longer anything. But they have barbed wire against a building that's just for lease. Who would want to rent that? Where they have to have barbed wire, not just a big fence, but barbed wire fencing to protect a little tiny thing. The whole area is bad. They added an exchange place and a place where you could get resources for Fenny users, if you guys know what I'm throwing out there. But it's destroyed. And everyone I asked there, everyone that I interviewed said that it happened after 2021. So in just a couple years, they destroyed an entire area. all of those places that have been closed down and never opened back up, they said it actually started with the riots of, all of that stuff going on with Mr. F and Lloyd, and it has never come back. If all of those businesses aren't paying taxes, then you could see how that doesn't work long term. And that's happening all over. Downtown Seattle is just a mess. There's a homeless encampment. I haven't been down there in the last couple months, but to think that at any point a homeless encampment set up at the courthouse next to the jail. That's crazy. Dex, go ahead.
Hey, it was going back to the border conversation. Andrew Brown in chat sent us some information about it, something that just went down today. The border officer seized 11,000 rounds of 7.62 millimeter ammo, which is about the equivalent of what they would normally get in an entire year, all packed into one 2011 Honda Ridgeline coming across the border today or yesterday. So 11,000 rounds. 7.62 is common for like an AK style rifle.
Yeah. And were they just trying to make a buck, or what were they doing with it? And then DOD developing Chappie for CBRN defense. Dex, go ahead.
Chappie. What a name. So CBRN defense. So this is a quadrupedal unmanned ground vehicle, or let's just call it the RoboDog that we've all seen, right? They are developing a RoboDog version of it for chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear, or aka CBRN, field operations. So this is coming out of the Space Force, even though this is not for space. But the Space Force is talking about this. So it's an unmanned system that will enhance with remote CBRN sensing capabilities. So obviously they're adding things to it like AI, obviously using the latest robo-dogs that we've seen, those four-legged, dogs out of, I can't remember the name of the company, that not General Dynamics, or maybe it is.
Boston.
But whatever that dog, everybody's seen it. Everybody puts everything on that dog now. That dog, and that's what they're doing. So CBRN investment, but AI on a dog detecting CBRN, and makes you wonder what they need it for.
Yeah, Boston Dynamics, creepy handle dogs, now equipped with weapons. I don't know if there's any here that actually show it with. They put. I think one I heard of it was like, what was it, a 40 caliber weapon on top of it. Let's see here. Weapona. Yeah, something like this. I don't know. This looks more like China or Russia or something. But look at that. That's straight up like a rifle on a dog with the sensors. And you know what's so scary is robots are going to be scary accurate. With facial recognition and with exact servos. Think about what robots for fun over the last 30 years have been able to do. Like a machine that can look at a dartboard and throw a dart, from 100 feet away and perfectly get the bullseye. Think about what they'll be able to do with a speeding bullet. That's a terrifying thought. Dex, did you chime in there?
Oh no, it's that was a story. It's CBRN tech that they're putting on the dogs now. But I on one hand it's good. Obviously, if you need to go detect chemical, radiological information, the detection in certain areas, you want to have robots do that, and they even have robots that do it today. They're just older style, but these new ones they're doing are the robo-dogs, and they're adding AI and capabilities to detect faster, quicker, more accurate, things like that. So it's the next level. But it's also interesting, though, I think, that why is Space Force the one doing this?
Dex, are you able to find the document that we talked about a long time ago It's Small Business Innovation Research Grant. If you look that up, remember we talked about the DoD, and they were looking for it was part of. Do you remember we talked about how they went to these guys, Small Business Innovation Research? They all of these they were going out to small companies, and when people heard that, they thought, oh, this is just a small thing. They're talking about not giant corporations, but these smaller companies that are able to produce and to do things on a timeline that the government wants. But they were asking specifically for everybody, like, hey, we need these things, and basically have your submission. And they wanted a short submission time. It was like, we need this, submissions of what you got in this amount of time. And it was like a few months or something. It was like by December or by Thanksgiving or somewhere. It was like, we need them now. And we thought, man, that's really freaky. If you look at what's coming out right now, the things that are coming out were on that list a few years ago, which we told you about, including dogs and including not dogs, but mobile detectors that could detect CBRN stuff and biological, radiological stuff. All of this was on that list. You know what else was on that list? A new system for a mass casualty. What is it called? A mass casualty tracking system. A mass casualty tracking system. What the hell? I mean, what does that entail? A mass casualty tracking system. Said it enough for the algo gods. There was also some other stuff on there, though. That's why I wanted to find that list. If we look fast forward 4 years, and it's like, look at what's actually coming out. Oh, and rapidly deployable checkpoints. And
we got it. It's sent up next.
And broadband cell phones that do not require being on the cell phone thing, on the cell towers. So look at this. Let's see here. Is it is it at the top, bottom?
So, yeah, the top. So
okay.
DHS link.
Thank you. So this is from a few years ago. In fact, what is this dated? This is 2021. I covered this back in 2021. Release date, December 21st, 2021. And they wanted them to submit them by January 24, 2022. So they gave them a month and 3 days to come up with these. Automated artificial intelligence distress alerts and monitoring, which, by the way, why would you need that, right? Automated. So even if all the humans are gone, you have automated AI distress alerts and monitoring. So if nobody's there to push the frickin' button. Rapidly deployable countermeasures at protected perimeters and structures. Those are checkpoints. Those are checkpoints you can pop up in no time. I mean, this is insane. Non-invasive and real-time detection of counterfeit microelectronics. And what people thought back then, especially around, this was all the talk about the in the side of arms. People thought, oh, maybe, to detect that if you had it or not, right? But it didn't go that crazy. Broadband push-to-talk interoperability platform, which specified they needed something that was not on the cell towers. A step towards agent-agnostic detection of biological hazards. Now, I forget what the agent-agnostic meant. We looked it up back then. Streamlined airport checkpoint screening for limited mobility passengers. Mass fatality tracking system, MFTS. What the frick? And again, military in the group says we already have something like that. So why do they need a different one? Next generation. And what are the flaws of the current system? Why do they need a bigger, better one? For more? Next generation high performance, low cost semiconductor based spectroscopic radiation detectors. Now I wonder if this new dog has something like that in it. And then field forward detection platform for high consequence toxins. Field forward. And I know these are simple words, but the way that they're writing them, I believe, I don't know what that means. Field forward, like I would think, I'm just assuming, I'm being dumb here, thinking that you would throw something in before humans go in to see if there's something there. Like, obviously, high consequence toxins, meaning these are things that if you go in, there's a bad thing that's going to happen. So you send something in first. I would think that would be a robot. But again, I don't know. Maybe that totally means something totally different. Maybe that's something that's been around forever and I'm just stupid. And then person-worn detector for aerosolized chemical threats. I wonder if something like that has come out so far. And then from port side to pen side, low-cost detection, diagnostics for high-consequence transboundary, this is a good one, or nationally reportable animal diseases, particularly those with zoonotic propensity. Zoonotic propensity meaning this could possibly go to a human, right? It could go from animal to human. Odd timing, right? We're talking about all of this the day that 40 monkeys are loose running around from a research, one of the biggest, largest, and most comprehensive animal testing sites, monkey testing sites. And it says this is a competitive contract awards program that encourages innovative and creative U.S. small businesses to participate in federal research and development projects, as well as private sector commercialization of SBR-funded solution. So they get huge chunks of money. If they're able to make it, if they win these awards, their company is set. Usually this is what rockets these companies off. They end up going up to this big level, and then they get gobbled up by Boeing, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, or whatever the fifth one is. I always get 4 out of 5. Lockheed. I always get 4 out of 5. I'll get, and it will be in a different combo. I never get all 5. I don't know why. Either way, does that...
Because you're a Boeing guy.
Oh my gosh, did I say Boeing? I did say Boeing, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's...
I always forget Lockheed, right?
You always forget Lockheed. I'm a Lockheed person because they were here in Georgia, and we all know Lockheed. So I think of Boeing as commercial airplanes.
Wait. Lock what? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Lock... What? Lock your doors because Boeing's coming to get you. Literally. At least 2 already. You know what I'm saying?
SR-71, baby.
Don't say anything? Okay, I won't. Sorry. Boeing is great. And Boeing never goes after anyone or any people, any persons. Don't, girl or guy. Oh, person. That's correct. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. It covers all spectrums. They don't go after any persons. Okay. And then mysterious U.S. military space plane begins advance. Oh, I can't cover this either. Oh, you guys work. Oh, we're gonna skip this one. Skip. Okay, you'll let go of my wife. Okay. Is this on? Mysterious. Oh yeah, that's right. No, I'm just kidding. Dex, what is the mysterious U.S. military space plane?
Well, it's the X-37B. It's the miniature-looking space shuttle-esque type experimental plane. They call it the X-37B. The Space Force runs it. As we had reported, they were talking about doing these aerobraking maneuvers. Well, it has begun. They are doing aerobraking and to do shift orbiting. Or orbits, shifts in their orbit, and it's supposed to be a way to save fuel and allow it to make significant changes in its orbit without having to expend a lot of fuel.
This is the skipping thing, right? This is where they skip off of the atmosphere that we...
Sort of. It's kind of, I think I may have misrepresented it when I said skipping, but it's the notion of getting closer to the denser portions of the atmosphere, causing... more resistance, which then slows you down. It's sort of like using, the air as a brake. Hence the word aerobraking. It's aerodynamically braking
in space.
In space, so they would move their their distance, their altitude, if you want to call it that, their elevation to a lower level. And as they do that, it causes them to slow down, and then they could reposition. And I guess if you do it at an angle, maybe you can get some level of change, but they're doing this to not expend as much fuel to have to reposition to different locations and different orbital paths.
Wait a second. Hold on. I got to call this out. RP says, how many times over the last few years have you said China is readying or about to attack? Probably hundreds. And RP, we will see how that comment ages. It's not just myself that is saying it, by the way. Ask some of the military in our group, and some of which are actually higher ranking retired, some of which are active and high enough ranking and now deployed to tell you that is what they are being told. So again, I would say this: we'll see. We'll highly recommend. We'll see. And I don't think that my opinion is Donald win or don't, that China is dead set on doing this. World wars do not go overnight. RP, have you ever been around anyone that's ever had to plan a wedding? You know that weddings take months to plan for, 2 to 5 to 1,000 people coming. Who knows? The more people, probably the longer it takes. Now imagine doing a world takeover and thinking that that's going to take, what, a year, 2 years? Oh, well, they have full staffs. Well, what do you mean? They have to deal with multiple countries. They have to deal with allies, treaties. They have to deal with militaries. They have to deal with logistics. They have to deal with technology. They have to deal with not only winning or losing, but not only looking at the strengths and the weaknesses of both parties, they also then have to come up with ways to get around those things. The signs that China was going to do this have been there for a long time. And readying or attack, what do you mean? All of this has been readying to attack. You can go back 4 years and you could see before they had the largest navy, which I called before they actually said that they had the largest navy, I called that they were building stuff under cover so you could not see it through satellites. I knew this was coming, and many other people did too. So all I'm saying is open your brain, because open your mind to this stuff, because yes, this does not happen overnight. CV, for a year before that, I said it was going to happen, and it did. And I didn't say this is going to happen on this day. I said this is what they are practicing for. This is what it looks like is going to happen. They had white papers, they had charts, they had graphs of how this mysterious, unknown, and not yet to happen thing was going to affect us. It happened. And it happened. You can go back through my videos. They're still up. Go back to the one that says Demic, and then go back in the 3 months. You can watch those whole episodes. I show you the W and the H and the O, the same thing. Most people didn't even know what that stood for other than the band. Before that, we were watching those releases. We're not trying to predict the future here. We're watching the press releases tonight. Not only 4 years ago in 2021, the DHS Open Small Business Innovation, how many people do you think actually read these along with their, Sunday comics? Okay, most people do not. This community does. And I guarantee you go back through time, you can actually find all of these things that if you search on our website, things that are getting released now, we most likely covered it at its inception. That's because we cover all of the documents, all of the press releases, all of the executive orders, all of the patents. If there's a crazy patent, our community finds it. So DoD developing Chappie, this will be a bigger deal down the road. We cover it at inception or at release. Guarantee you're going to see. And by the way, if Mike Minahan was at a barbecue and you said to them, because 3 years ago he said that we'll go to war with them by 2027, you would not say to Mike Minahan, who just took off all of the identifying numbers off of all of our planes, all of our cargo planes for the U.S. military, and told his entire staff, we need to be ready for a war with China by 2027. You wouldn't say to him at a barbecue, yeah, but you've been saying that for years. I'm not saying this because I have tarot cards here or something. I'm saying this because it is extremely obvious, and anyone can see the things that we see. We just pay attention a whole lot closer. And by we, I mean this entire community. We had over 500 at the time of our Discord removal, active and retired military folks. We have much, much more. I think we were at about 100,000 subscribers on one channel and 50 at the other. Now we're at over 200,000 on both. So those are just genuine numbers of people coming in. Maybe it's closer to 250 unique people, 250,000 unique people. In that, military members have brought their military member friends because we respect them, we thank them, and we are actually covering what they are interested in. So again, there are plenty of people telling this, but instead of going, I know this is going to happen on the 4th, or there's going to be a war on the 8th, or the world is going to end, which I have never said, there have been people throughout history of this channel, they will say that. They'll go, oh, they said that this and this and this is going to happen. They're saying, whatever they're saying is hearsay. Go listen to our actual words. Go listen to what we cover. And I employ anybody to correct us. If we have said something wrong and said on this day this would happen and it doesn't, I will correct it on the very next show. If you find an error, we correct it. Or I think we'll just correct it, or we will take it back. The reason that doesn't happen, and the reason why this show is different than others, the reason why there's an archive for every show, is because we do all of the work beforehand. We try to triple check. Sometimes we will cover things so fast, though, while we're live, that's where things happen. Is if we're live, somebody in chat brings in an article, it is fresh news, it is different, and then by the time the end of the show, they find out it's something different. Or if we get something at 4 o'clock, we're live at 7 and it's changed by then. Other than that, the reason why we don't have that problem, and we really haven't, is because you do the work beforehand and you triple check things. So I just want to call that out because there's probably a lot of other people too. And one thing that I really wish we could get some really good people on this show, but unfortunately, it's like after you have a few people say that, then people don't even look. It's what I was talking about with this whole thing where they now control the comments of videos, and they actually customize those to the person that's reading. So guy comments are going to be related to what that person thinks and buys and sells. And then the woman's comments, when she watches the same exact video, will be completely different and will agree with her thoughts. If people see that, they see that, that's extremely important. But when they see comments or bad comments, before you even watch a video, before a 2-hour show, you read one bad comment, you go, that's a crappy thing. My point is people will read about stuff, they'll say, that person does this, but they have never actually heard it. We've never claimed the end of the world is coming. I never claim world war is here. I said back in 2021, you can go back as far as 2017, that I believed that 2024 and 2025 was going to be around the time. And now look where we're at. In 2021, I didn't say, we've been saying it for years. In 2021, I said around 2024, 2025 is where all these contracts line up. You can go back and verify this. My mods have been with me for a very long time. I said the contracts, amphibious vehicles that were supposed to be done in 2031, 2032, that contract got moved up to 2022, 2023. I have pointed out for years, everything lines up with 2024, 2025. Why? I don't know. Deagle lines up with it. All of these weird things line up with it. The solar maximum lines up with it. So I do want to get that off my chest because there's probably a good chunk of people that are watching that are probably new. They've probably heard some hearsay from somewhere. But I would say don't trust, verify. Prove that we have ever been wrong, and I will correct it. I know I'm not always right, but one thing you can do is always try to triple check your stuff so it minimizes it. Because I do believe I do believe that you can come here and at least know you're going to get good information. At least the information is going to be verified to not be completely false, right? MSM, of course, is going to put out their own version of fake stuff, but that's why every time we cover an MSM article, We are going over it. We're getting the community to talk about it, and we're asking our questions. In general, if 100 people read an article and if there's BS in it, 95% are probably going to go, hey, that seems like it's BS. That's why you do this in this format. That's why you look at what MSM is doing in this format. We're not just covering MSM. We are questioning it. So I hope people realize that. And RP, I hope that you find a place here. And I hope that you go through this. And maybe you did watch 3, 4, 5 years ago. But I would highly recommend going back through those videos and looking at the actual claims. And I do believe we are going into World War. And by January, I think we will know a whole lot more. And it might take another 2 years to get fully embedded. But I think we will know by January what is about to happen. Before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace. No matter what ends up happening, you definitely need certain things. Obviously, food, water. It would help to have transportation, but really, one thing that is really, really important, antibiotics. Jace has a system. It's called the Jace case. It's basically an emergency kit that not only has all of your most commonly prescribed antibiotics, but you can also add things in like iodine, albuterol, fluconazole, all sorts of other medications. Great service. It's very easy. It's a telehealth appointment through a board-certified doctor, and you can get all sorts of other things as well in that kit as an add-on. Not only that, you can actually get this service called Jace Daily. Some people might actually be doing it for that as well, which is if you have a daily medication, that can get you up to a year's supply of it that you can then rotate into your daily meds. So in 4 months from now, you say you get your year's supply, you rotate it into your current prescription. 4 months from now and 1 day, on this day that some other YouTuber has predicted that the world will end, say it actually does and the power goes out, the lights go out, or a cyber attack takes out all of our hospitals, you'll be able to have a year supply from that day of your regular medication, maintenance medication, something that you have to take every day. I don't know if they have this, I haven't checked, but one of my friends, Laura, got a double lung transplant. You guys probably know her from chat. But Dave and Laura got a double lung transplant. And I thought about what if the whole system goes down and you have anti-rejection drugs. Like, that would be insane. I wonder if they do that kind of stuff, because I know that anti-rejection drugs, you have to take like 10 or 12 or 14 or whatever the number is per day. And if you don't, your body will reject the organ. So I think about stuff like that. But again, hopefully they will figure out, if they haven't already, how to do that. Go to marfuglenews.com/Jace, and they might. You'll have to go check. And make sure to use the code MARF. You'll save money, you'll save independent media, and you will get a discount as well. Thank you guys for doing so, and thank you for going through us. Thank you guys for sticking with us through the year, and thank you for enduring my side rant. I probably do it once every month and a half, so you can definitely tune out and tune in for the next month and a half, and then I'll try to put a little red card when I'm about to rant. Okay, and then Dex, let's talk about the Pentagon response to claims North Korean troops in Russia gorging on the porn.
Yeah, so the rumors are coming out of other locations that these North Korean troops are getting access to the internet on phones, and they've never had this type of access before. And of course, they're just enamored with the after hours type of content that they're getting their hands on. That's the rumors. Now, it's gotten so bad that they've literally asked the DOD, and the DOD said, hey, we can't really comment on that. As for internet access, that's a question best directed to Moscow. Right now, our attention remains on supporting Ukraine and addressing the more significant regional security concerns. So I guess this question was so important, they decided they had to ask the U.S. DOD about it. But apparently the rumors could be true that just like the rest of the world, when you get somebody access to the internet, they start exploring lots of other things that they didn't have access to before. So anyway, we'll leave it at that.
But you guys, I just said this last night or the night before. The pattern I've noticed from the articles that come out about Russia and North Korea is that, oh, they're just a bunch of dummies. Like, this makes them look silly. It really does. This is a good thing to tell your population that, oh, we're dealing with a bunch of dummies. But I also talked about how they treat their military there. Obviously, our own, like Marines or Army or military, they break you down. There's a real reason that there's drill sergeants. There's a reason why get up and or do 50 push-ups right now, blah, blah, until you are just exhausted. And then they're like, hey, now do a 5-mile run. And then they're like, after you do that, you're about to die of exhaustion. They're like, okay, now you need to climb this mountain. They break you down and turn you into a new person. So that isn't torture. I mean, some would relate it to it. They don't only do that in North Korea. Somebody I have spoken to that knows at least 2 people from there, they abuse them. They hurt them. They do things to their actual bodies. They'll brand them if they do the wrong thing, like with a massive cow prod type thing. Really crazy stuff. At least the rumors of this stuff going on. I can't imagine what that person is going to be like on a battlefield compared to an 18-year-old that just joined the military that probably spent all high school on TikTok and probably engorging themselves on Cheetos and GMO foods. Where these guys had, obviously, when you have people from a tough background, and this goes for a lot of the third world countries, for Venezuela or for other places that have some of these hardened situations in different places, it's like you get a genuine tough. In parts of Mexico, I mean, like genuinely tough. It doesn't matter if they are 5 foot going up against an 8 foot guy. It's the level of just insanity. I mean, I think all of you guys have probably run into a person that is just, they're scary, and it doesn't matter how tall or big or, scary looking they are actually scary. Like, they could take anybody. I'm not saying all of them are like that, but I would say this. I'm sure all of them are probably going nuts in some other country without, somebody like their people watching down their backs. But this article, it just seems silly. I think that there's a narrative that people are saying, basically the subconscious says, don't be worried about this. I think North Korea is going to be the trigger to the weapon that fires World War III weapon. And I've said that for now over a year because that is my genuine thought. And then T-Man will give Israel blank check, which may mean all-out conflict with Iran, says ex-CIA chief. Instantly, a regular person goes, oh, wow, and that's a CIA chief saying it. It's got to be true. It's kind of like, it's free? It's got to be good. But our community goes, oh, yeah, ex-CIA chief. But I don't know if this is the same one. This might have been the same one that has been talking about the skies and stuff coming out of the skies too, or the plans they have to deal with the warmness of the planet. I don't know if that's the same guy or if that's somebody else. But I will say this. He obviously and visibly supports Israel. If he does go in, is he not going to support? I definitely assume he's going to at least continue the amount of support that they've already been supporting. He will most likely do deals. And I bet you, since Israel has a ton of money, I bet he will be doing military deals with Israel to the point of where he'll have Netanyahu pay a fair price. And I bet you a lot of that money will end up going right into our country. But does this mean if they have unlimited resources, or if they have a really good relationship with the U.S., if we back them even harder than we do now, does that also mean that Iran is not going to stop? Or does it get to a point where Iran backs down because the U.S. actually plays hardball? I don't think so, because now I believe Iran, China, North Korea, Russia, Venezuela, South Africa, some other countries that you won't expect, I think they are now confident. I think that they don't care that the U.S. is involved because too many of our cards have been flipped over or left in other countries for, terrorists to pick up and learn how to fly. So, again, I think that it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters that the U.S. will flex its muscles, because our flexing has not had the same response that it used to. We sent carrier groups to China in 1993, I believe it was. Last time when they were trying to say, hey, Taiwan's ours, we sent a carrier group there. That was all it was, all she wrote. China backed off, said, you know what, we're good. This time we did it, they came with their own ships, and they were like, yeah, peace out. So whatever your opinion is on Israel, or if you're looking at this as this versus that, I would say please get prepared for any contingency, because that is the point we are making here. If there's a higher risk, and you can see everyone talking about it. You can see that it is not something that's going away. You can see the moves being made. You can see the drills being done. You can see the executive orders being added. You can see the frickin' directives being put out. You can see the patents being filed. And you can see the money moving and the leaders quoting. It turns into like a Christmas song. 6 quails are quailing. 6 Trudeaus are Trudeauing. It's very clear that we are about to go into a massive, massive war. I think regardless of what he negotiates, I think he might reduce possibly 1 or 2 of the adversaries, but I don't think he's going to be able to get rid of it. Dex, what do you think as far as, it does seem like it would be true, because he does support Israel throughout this whole last year, where everybody's been
his
against.
Position. It's not one that the other side took. It was his position. He's held it. So, yeah, I agree.
In fact, that's why there's a good chunk of our audience that doesn't trust him. Obviously, there's a lot going on right now with just questioning everything and everyone. So I think the war is a plan to break everything down, just like a man in the military, or a person in the military, according to Boeing, break them down and build back better. I think that's what build back better means. They're about to break everything down. To build back, that means you have to tear down first. We're switching off of the petrodollar. How is it the petrodollar if we're not going to be using petrol? With the trillions and trillions of dollars we're in debt right now, how do we switch off of that without some sort of calamity? I don't know. You guys let me know in the chat below how you think it's going to happen. Carlton Sutton, thank you, says, so much fun last night's shout out. Thank you. Hey, Carlton, thank you. And I seriously, thank you so much for sticking around for it. And thank you for your support yesterday. And then Bible Talk 777, thank you. Same lab has done this numerous times, supposedly. Now, I put the supposedly there because I don't know, but Dex,
that's what I said earlier too. It was.
Is that
article.
real?
Yeah, they have a history of having issues with them. Yeah, that's true.
Are these monkeys themselves? Like, is this some sort of government experiment where the actual doctors are like Planet of the Apes, humanoid apes? Like, are these monkeys themselves? How do they have a history at the same place of releasing these things? Huge numbers.
Accidentally.
That's just stupid. Hopefully they never do nasty tests there. Hopefully it is for like a heart arrhythmia or something. Hopefully they're just testing aspirin on these little buggers. Lisa Douglas, thank you so much for your support tonight. Appreciate you. Thank you. I believe you are our top supporter tonight, so thank you. Make sure to go check out our mods over at marfooglenews.com/friends. You got the whole list there. Trinity, thank you for being here tonight. Go check out Trinity. She has live streams where she covers some of the most interesting topics you've ever seen. Again, somebody asked last time, they couldn't find it. You can, I don't know if some phones you can actually pause the video, highlight this, and copy and paste it. But again, Trinity, red or blue pill with no spaces, space, hi-ho Kermit the Frog here. Again, think demon face syndrome. One of the coolest things here. Yeah, you can pause it right here. Demon face syndrome. Such a weird frickin' topic. I've talked about it a bunch, especially since there's been stories about people. Now more and more people are supposedly getting this thing. And then live CERN running now for 17 days. I didn't know that. Again, so many cool things. And she dives deep. She goes into side definitions of things. She really dives into it. So please go check her out. Thank you, Trinity, for being here. I know you've got your own content to create. Same with Wages World as well. Thank you. Doing all of the solar. And look, we got them to 61,000. That's awesome. Again, thank you guys. Last night, I asked a bunch of you, I think, to get him to 61 or something. Maybe, yeah. I think he was at 60 yesterday. So doing something right, Wages. Very, very awesome. And again, all of the solar stuff is being covered right there. So make sure to go check it out. All right, you guys, have a wonderful night. Make sure to go also check out our whole list of other creators, including Chance Paladin over on DLive. He is actually creating, and he is an author of books. You can find him over on marfugglenews.com/friends. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody that supports the show. Love you guys. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out. Thank you, Dex. I appreciate your service.
Much love. Great job, brother.
It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro. Turning on. There it is.
We don't know. Where do they spend this money? We just really